Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent Nintendo/gaming video for this week, for the week of July 4th to July 10th, though. Hopefully all of you had a safe and wonderful 4th of July, whatever was spending time with friends, families, whatever that might be, if whether you're having a barbecue. Hopefully you had an enjoyable 4th of July, and of course a shout out to our men and women in uniform as well. Hopefully you guys had a wonderful 4th of July too. Also, I do want to point out though that recently I did get Homefront: The Revolution on the Xbox Series S though, and recently tried it out because of the FPS boost though, which I'll get to that in the quick My 2 Cent part. And I will say, playing with the FPS boost on now, I would say Homefront: The Revolution is certainly a more enjoyable game now than when it launched. That game had technical issues when that game launched, but now let's just say it's definitely better. Not 100% perfect, but definitely better, at least from my view on it though. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover, including rumors about the possibility of a Fire Emblem game, another one in the works. This one could be a remake though. We've also response to some people apparently may, I'm not saying everyone, going a little bit overboard with this deal that Kojima Production and Microsoft might be working on though. We finally got the reveal of a brand new Switch, but not the Switch that people were hoping for, and interesting rumors about Nintendo possibly expanding on Donkey Kong, to be exact, the IP though. And as always, if you're interested in the stories I am talking about, I'll have a link down in the description of where I got the information from, assuming you're watching this on YouTube and all. But before we get started, we'll do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cent. These are stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going into a huge amount of details or anything like that though. So the first one we're going to talk about is that apparently there's rumors going around that we might be getting another amiibo, this one based off of Super Monkey Ball though, which would be interesting considering that we know that another Super Monkey Ball game is in the works and it will be coming to multiple systems though. We don't know if this amiibo is true or not, so we'll have to take a wait and see approach. And even if it is true, the question is, will there be content gated out where you use this amiibo to unlock this and that or anything like that? So I'm a little bit curious to see, assuming this whole rumor about the amiibo is true, because we know how some people weren't exactly happy with the whole Zelda Skyward Sword amiibo type situation that started to emerge, including with the whole quality of life stuff though. We also learned that earlier that Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is out now, I'm going to try to pick my copy up today though, that there were some reports coming around that apparently that the game does require a bit of a download, and this, not everyone is pleased with that, as we have seen some developers put the situation where they put either parts of the game on a cartridge or a certain degree of you have to download the rest of the game. Well, after the report came out though, basically Capcom later confirmed that this was an error on their part. They kind of spelled it the wrong way. They basically pointed out that it turns out to be that the day one patch for the game is 0.5 gigabytes though, and that the digital version is 13.5 gigabytes though. So yes, for those who are opting to pick up the physical version, there is basically a download, but it's a very small download, and Capcom has later came out and sort of apologized for the confusion and all that stuff. So at the very least, it's a minor download, which is okay, I mean, I guess, and all that stuff. We did learn today that Dark Souls 3, at least for the Xbox Series X and S though, will now support the FPS boost though, which is certainly is nice though. I think this is a really neat feature that Microsoft has introduced. But from what I'm hearing so far is that if you have it on the Xbox Series X and S, supposedly the resolution will drop down to 900p compared to what I believe they have it on the PS5 though, which is a much higher resolution. And while assuming this is true though, while this is somewhat disappointing though, if I had to choose between a higher resolution or a higher frame rate, I'm going to go with the higher frame rate over the higher resolution. Would it have been nice if the resolution went up a little bit? Yes, but the fact that I'm getting 60 frames per second, in my view, kind of makes up for it, though, as I am more of basically a gameplay over graphics type of a game, or at least that's the kind of person I am, though. We also learned that Test Drive Unlimited, the upcoming racing game, which is also going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch, along with being on other systems as well, will be taking place in Hong Kong, though. I am very curious about that game, particularly how well it will run on the Nintendo Switch. We've had some racing games here and there, though, like Gears Club Unlimited, though, but nothing on the level of, say, Forza or basically Forza or Gran Turismo, to be exact, though, especially I'm referring to the Switch, though. So I am curious to see how this game will run on the Nintendo Switch. We also learned that the developers Monolith Soft, the folks who created the Xenoblade Chronicles series, has seen their profits go up by 138.2%, though. So obviously that studio is doing very well, though, which is certainly nice. I believe they are currently helping out and working out with the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Side note, I think it's going to be called a different name. I don't think it's going to be called Breath of the Wild 2, though, but I could be wrong on that, though. Hopefully this opens the door to the possibility that we could see maybe another Xenoblade Chronicles entry, the Xenoblade Chronicles 3, or perhaps a port of Xenoblade Chronicles as Chronicles X. I know they've made some comments about it in the past, but I think it is possible they could bring that game over, though, considering how well the series is doing, considering the success that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition have done well on the Nintendo Switch so far. Or maybe the idea of bringing over Project X Zone 1, 2, and possibly doing a Project X Zone 3 on the Nintendo Switch. That would be nice if they could do that, though, and all that. But either way, they seem to be doing very well at this time. And last but not least, a new trailer has come out for the upcoming game Bright Memory Infinite, though. So I've seen the trailer, and based on what I've seen so far, though, I'm definitely getting a little bit of a Shadow Warriors vibe out of it, which at least that's how I see it, though, which certainly is a good thing, though. I've heard about this game for a bit. I heard that the early access version was developed by one person, which, judging by what they showed, that looks very, very impressive indeed, though. And this title certainly has caught my attention, and will be keeping an eye on it, especially when it comes over to the Xbox Series X and S, though. Supposedly it will be out this year, at least last time I read, though, but time will tell if that happens, though. But it's definitely a title I am definitely keeping an eye out on. Okay, with the quick My 2 Cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Donkey Kong, and some interesting information that has recently came out about, though. Now, most people like me who have been around since the beginning when Nintendo introduced the NES may remember it as Donkey Kong being the original enemy to Mario at the time, called, I think, Jumper Man and all that stuff. But Donkey Kong really started to sort of gain a lot more attention I believe in 1994, with the release of games like not only Donkey Kong 94, but Donkey Kong Country, though. And that really introduced Donkey Kong for a new generation and in a different light as well. We've had 3 entries in the Super Nintendo series. We've had 1 entry in the Nintendo 64, which was the 3D entry, though some view that's kind of controversial, though. Some love it, some hate it, to be exact. And we've also seen different games ranging from Jungle Beef to Donkey Kongo to basically Diddy Kong's Racing to even the Retro Studios take with Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Both good games, including Tropical Freeze, considering the music is done by David Wise, which I really like his music and all that. But recently we've started to hear rumors about the possibility that a brand new Donkey Kong game is in the work. But now we're also hearing that Nintendo might be pushing to make Donkey Kong a much bigger IP and all. In a article, let me get that article out, though. Oops, my bad, I didn't get it out in time. Shoot. Okay, here we go. In an article from VGC, Video Game Chronicles, it reads that, quote, Nintendo is reportedly planning a big push for its Donkey Kong franchise, including a new game, animation, and theme park world. That's according to a historical, reliable Nintendo insider, Zippo, Z-I-P-P-O, who previously claimed that a new Donkey Kong game is in development at Nintendo EPD, alongside other insiders and publication Nintendo Life. This week, the insider claimed that the in-development video game was part of a larger push for Donkey Kong planned by Nintendo. According to what this person is saying, they're saying, quote, I've been told by multiple people that Donkey Kong is the next franchise in line to follow Mario in Nintendo's push for their game franchise to become multimedia juggernauts, they said. Donkey Kong and company aren't just getting a new game, they're getting new animations. Before this catch fires, my source did not specifically whether or not this was a movie or a show, just that an animated feature featuring Donkey Kong characters were early in the works, which hopefully it's better than the one that was shown in the 90s, which was just... I remember seeing that one. That one was just bad and all. Okay, anyway, continuing on. A big theme park expansion, merchandise, etc. There's a new game that's not just a one-off. Donkey Kong's being taken serious at the big end again, and this should be good news for fans everywhere. According to reports, Universal Studios is already pushing ahead with plans to expand the Super Nintendo World theme park with a Donkey Kong theme world, and there's plenty of evidence to suggest this is the case. As reported by VGC's Super Nintendo World Review, Super Nintendo World Japan, which opened in March, featured a locked door hidden towards the north of the park with a very DK-esque design. Nintendo's president recently indicated that the company is exploring the potential of creating more animation content beyond the planned Super Mario movie featured in its other game series. The Super Mario movie is currently in development at Despicable Me Studios Illumination, with a 2022 release window previously scheduled, though we don't know if that will change or not. Nintendo has historically been very protective of its intellectual properties, only greenlighted televisions and film projects for the Zelda animation show and Super Mario movie 30 years ago. However, during the past decade, the company has increased move towards leveraging its popular IPs in various ways. The company's Nintendo's Tokyo store opened in 2019, and the Super Nintendo World theme park are set to open at Universal Studios locations around the world. It is in its corporate management meeting in September last year that Nintendo says it had already embarked on multiple other visual content projects alongside Illumination Mario movie. Now, obviously, like anything, this is a rumor, so take it with a grain of salt, though. But I wouldn't completely rule this one out. Indeed, though, the expansion in the Super Nintendo World theme park at Universal Studio, I could definitely see where they are I definitely see that they are looking like they're expanding that into, with this time, a theme on Donkey Kong and all that stuff, judging by the design they had at that door. So I could definitely see how this could be true, though. Whether or not they'll expand in multimedias, like really like TV shows or movies, excuse me, that might remain to be seen. I'm sure some of that will be based off how well does the Mario movie from Illumination Pictures, or the folks who worked on Despicable Me, does at the box office, though. I mean, if it does well, they might push ahead further with the Donkey Kong, with like pushing the Donkey Kong in that direction. But if not, that might put the brakes on that situation. So we'll have to wait and see. As far as the new game goes, it wouldn't surprise me, though. I am curious to see if it is being developed by the same folks who did Super Mario Odyssey and all, or whether or not Retro Studio is going to get their hands on it. Although supposedly right now they're working on Metroid Prime 4, so it's possible they may not be able to work on a new Donkey Kong game, despite the fact that I wouldn't mind seeing one more Donkey Kong game from them, indeed, though. So overall, my takeaway is that it is still a rumor, so it should be taken with a grain of salt, though. But it wouldn't surprise me if Nintendo is seriously pushing Donkey Kong to become a really big IP on the same level as, say, what we're seeing with Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon, indeed. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one is basically off of the new Switch that has been announced, but not the way that some people may have hoped for. So we'll take a quick break and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video, and for this one we're going to be taking a look at the new Nintendo Switch, or shall we say the OLED or OLED, apologize if I'm not getting the name correctly, of this Nintendo Switch. Now, as some of you may recall, earlier this year, we have seen rumors started to pop up about a brand new Nintendo Switch and all that stuff. Now, the Switch Pro, or the new Nintendo Switch, or Switch.to, has been rumored for a long time, since basically 2017. There have been some stories here and there, though, but nothing really emerged until earlier this year. A report from Bloomberg started to point out the possibility that the new Nintendo Switch was going to happen, all that stuff. Other sites started to pick up on the story as well. Now, many people thought it was going to be shown at E3. That didn't happen. But this week, though, Nintendo out of the blue dropped a brand new look at a brand new Nintendo Switch, though. However, it turns out to be this isn't the Switch Pro people were thinking it was going to be, though. Some of the information that has come out, though, has pointed about the new Switch model, though. In terms of the screen, it points out that the new Nintendo OLED console has a 7-inch OLED multi-touch capability touchscreen with a resolution of 1280 720p, compared to the standard Nintendo Switch, which has a 6.2 inch LCD multi-touch screen, or the Switch Lite, which has a 5.5 inch LDC multiple touch screen and all. So the screen does have it will be much bigger, though. They also showed off the dock, which basically now adds both a built-in LAN support, though. It is worth pointing out they mentioned that the dock is compatible with the original Switch, and supposedly this new Switch will be compatible with the older docks and all that stuff, at least from what I've been hearing. On top of that, though, it does point out that the docks you can purchase them separately, but you can only buy them from Nintendo's online store, though. They also showed off one neat feature is the improved kickstand, which certainly looks better than the kickstand that is currently on the Nintendo Switch, although I didn't have problems with the original kickstand or anything like that, unless you really put pressure on it. But I can see why this one is certainly better, though. And the Joy-Cons definitely look nice and all that. So it looks nice and all that stuff, though. However, there are a couple of things that have now recently emerged that points out that, well, although it looks nice, it may not be the Switch Pro that people are hoping for, though. In an article from The Verb, though, they recently reported that Nintendo has confirmed that no CPU or increased RAM in the OLED Switch. According to the article, it reads, quote, Nintendo just announced a new model of the Switch that has an OLED screen, but it won't bring major changes to the CPU or RAM currently used in other iteration or other versions of the console, Nintendo confirmed to The Verge. Nintendo Switch OLED model does not have a new CPU or more RAMs from previous Nintendo Switch models, Nintendo said to The Verge. The company didn't mention anything about improvements to those in its announced video or its marketing page dedicated to the new console, or in the page listed the tech specs of the device, so it's not surprising that this is the case, though. Nintendo also confirmed to The Verge that all Switch docks are interchangeable, meaning that non-OLED Switch can sit in the dock included with the OLED Switch, and that the OLED Switch can slot into the older Switch docks. As for Bluetooth headphone support, something they pointed out in the upgraded Switch, something I don't disagree with, though, it sounds like that's not in the cards either. We have nothing to announce on this topic, but like the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch Lite console, Nintendo Switch OLED mode supports Bluetooth text for the Joy-Con controllers. Nintendo tells The Verge, Nintendo's Verge, and even though you'll hear enhanced audio from the onboard speakers, Nintendo said there are no changes to the audio experience when you listen through headphones or your TV speaker when using the OLED Switch. The new OLED Switch will be released on October 8th for $350. In addition to the bigger screen and enhanced audio, it looks like it will have a much improved kickstand. So according to, basically, despite all the bells and whistles that they added to it, some of them I kind of like the improved kickstand and all that stuff. It doesn't sound like this is the Switch Pro people were hoping for, since it's still using the Tegra processor, the one that has powered the Nintendo Switch and all that, and it doesn't look like it's going to make any changes to the hardware. In other words, it doesn't sound like this is going to be like the Switch Pro people were thinking about, or the kind of situation we saw when we went from the old 3DS to the new 3DS kind of situation. Is this Switch worth getting? Well, that really depends on if you absolutely need a new Switch in case like your Switch broke or something like that, or if, say, you haven't picked up a Nintendo Switch at all, then I could see a reason why you might want to hold off and get this new Nintendo Switch. But if you're currently happy with the Switch that you have right now, like I do, I just don't see any reason to pick this one up at this time, though, considering it's not the big jump or the big leap, though. Now some people out there do think that maybe this is the end, that we don't hear anything about Switch Pro or anything like that. Well, some people still think a Switch Pro might happen, though. In the article from Nintendo Life, which is going through pretty much the whole the FAQ about everything about the specs and battery life and where it leaves the Switch Pro. According to, at the bottom of the article, though, they basically, okay, let me see if I can find it. It basically asks, so what happened to the Switch Pro then? Well, according to it, it says, quote, some of the rumors we've heard over the past year have come to pass with the Switch OLED, including a better screen, improved kickstand, and the indication of a LAN port on the dock. However, 4K output is nowhere to be seen, and there's no power boost in the hardware either. Does that mean the Switch Pro isn't coming? According to VentureBeat's Jeff Grubbs, 2022 is the year for an upgraded Switch. Again, I know his history has sort of been spotty at best, so it is what it is. According to a tweet he pointed out, though, it reads, quote, I still have only ever personally heard 2022 for a Switch Pro, and if that still happens, I'll continue to speculate that we will have 4K output with a significant more effective chip with DLSS. Anyone to think that this is the last Switch for the company that released 6 3DS models. Nintendo, of course, according to the article, it says, Nintendo, of course, is working on new hardware all the time, and it might be the case that the Switch Pro rumors are linked to other production development work, which will be revealed in due course. Or Nintendo may have delayed the Switch Pro in light of the recent events such as the COVID-19 pandemic and the shortage of components, which is also a possibility. It may have even shelved plans for the Switch Pro entirely, although, as Grubbs point out, this is the company that released 6 variations of the 3DS, so it seems highly likely that we'll at least see one more enhanced model in its fullest of time. Now, do I think this is the end of the Switch Pro rumors, though, or the end of the idea that Switch Pro is not going to happen? Not necessarily, though. I think given Nintendo's history and all, and given the fact that they are probably going to stick with the Switch design for a while, though, I think it would be extremely difficult for them to go back to having just a console and a handheld and all that stuff. I still think that at some point, given their partnership with Nvidia, though, that we probably will see an enhanced Switch, whether it's a Switch.to or Switch Pro or new Nintendo Switch, who knows to be exact, though. And one reason why is that there has been reports out the fact that Nvidia is ending their Tegra line, though, which, if that is true, if assuming that information is correct, and I heard this correctly, though, then it is possible that the next Nintendo Switch, whatever version that they showed, might use a different chip to power it, though. Maybe one that is a bit more powerful than the Tegra X1 or the Tegra line that Nintendo has used, though. It's possible we could hear something like this in 2022. I mean, we'll be coming up to, like, say, the fifth year since the Switch has been on the market and all that stuff, though. So it is possible that by 2022 we might hear something about a Switch Pro at that point, though. But for right now, though, I would say, at least for this year, though, it's unlikely we're going to see an enhanced version of the Nintendo Switch and all. So some of this turned out to be true, some of it didn't, though. My overall takeaway is that while I do think this new Switch is impressive, though, and there are certain things I like, I personally am not sold on it at this time, since it's not really a hand switch that some people out there make it. It's not enough for me to convince me to buy it, though, especially since it's not the big leap in terms of the graphics performance, or like it is going from the old 3DS to the new 3DS, though. So for me, I'm going to hold out and wait until basically we start hearing about the next iteration of the Nintendo Switch. As far as the response go, I would say the response has been kind of mixed, but if you go to their YouTube page, though, as it where it stands, it seems to be there is 192k likes to it to 33k's dislikes. So I will say, broad consensus though, the response has been kind of mixed. Some people are okay with it, some of it are not. But for me though, at least in my view though, since my Switch works just fine and all, I don't see really any reason to pick up the new Switch at this time though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with Kojima, and basically a petition started to cancel this collaboration that Kojima and Microsoft might be working on. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a situation surrounding Kojima and Microsoft, and even Change.org and all that. Now, when you think of the name of Kojima, one of the names that pop up is obviously the Metal Gear franchise, though, which is beloved by a lot of folks out there. But he's also worked on franchises outside of Metal Gear, ranging from the Castlevania Lords of Shadows to even games like, say, the Zone of the Ender series, good series I like to point out though, to even some stuff like on the Nintendo systems, like say on the Nintendo DS, Lunar Nights though, to even some of his older games, like I think he did one called Snatcher, I'm not 100% sure or anything like that. But ever since he left Konami to go on his own, though, people have been wondering what he would be doing next. And the first game that he showed off was one when he teamed up with Sony and released basically Death Stranding, though, a game that was considered by some to be sort of controversial, though. Some liked it, some didn't, though. Although recently they have announced that they will be doing a director's cut, Death Stranding and all that. So that certainly is nice indeed, though. But after that game, though, it does sound like there have been reports pointing towards him, and Microsoft might be working on a deal for a new game. Some people are speculating that it could be a cloud-based game, though. Whether that works or not remains to be seen, though. Although there was claim that they was going to work on a cloud-based game, a horror type, with Google Stadia and all, but that deal never really went through or anything like that, though. But either way, since that announcement of Microsoft and Kojima might be working with each other, there are some out there that don't exactly 100%, or at least don't agree with this, going as far as putting up a Change.org petition. In an article first posted on Gamerant, though, it reads, quote, "For months now, rumors about Kojima and Microsoft working together have floated around the game industry. At last, it looks like they're coming to fruition. A former contract hasn't been signed, but reports suggest that Kojima and Xbox signed letters of intent to work together. That's a great sign. It sounds like they're getting down to business and start planning Kojima's next game very soon. However, some Kojima fans aren't too happy about his new partnership. In fact, someone created a Change.org petition that wants Kojima and Xbox to cancel their collaboration. Although it doesn't look like the petition will go anywhere, it could say something about the future of Kojima's new game, though. The petition to cancel Xbox Kojima games only has a brief description, but the message is clear. Supporters of the petition believe that Kojima is working with Microsoft out of greed and wants him to come back to the winning side, namely Sony. In other words, the petition is seemingly created by Kojima loving PlayStation users who are upset that they won't be able to play his next game on their platform of choice. Unfortunately, for believers in the petition, it doesn't appear to be going anywhere fast. It only has a few hundred supporters right now, which isn't nearly enough to make a difference. It should also be noted that out of those hundreds of supporters, many don't actually support it. In fact, quite a few people have signed the anti-Xbox petition to criticize the petition's creator and praise Kojima for trying new things and experimenting with different collaborations after his falling out with Konami. Seeing how many people are signing the Change.org petition, ironically, odds are very low that the Xbox Kojima collaboration will budge in any way because of it. And over at PlayStation, over at a site, I believe PlayStation Lifestyle, though, they're reporting that they believe that the report that this petition isn't really done by a PlayStation fan, but most likely a troll. One of the part of the article they write is that, quote, "The petition itself is kind of funny. Kojima is betraying his loyal fans," wrote VRINNY. "He has been blinded by greed. We must help him come back to the winning side. Please share this petition everywhere. Not everyone has good enough internet to stream games. Not everyone has enough money to buy a new console or build a new PC. Please, Kojima, don't leave us." The article reads that, quote, "That's heck of a heartbreaking split. The only problem is that Kojima was never in an exclusive relationship with PlayStation or Sony, so someone clearly wasn't on the same page here." Now, regardless of whether or not this Change.org petition was started by a troll or an actual PlayStation fan, though, I'm thinking most likely possibly a troll, but I could be wrong on that, though. The truth of the matter is that Kojima isn't owned by Sony at all, or any other studio, to be exact, though. Ultimately, he could choose to collaborate and work with any studio he wants to, and if he wants to work with Microsoft, though, that's fine. If it's a deal that they want to work out to create a game for the Game Pass or the Xbox Series X and S, that's their call, though. Now, whether the game will be good or not, that remains to be seen, since we haven't seen the game yet. And whether or not it's this cloud-based or not, though, who knows? Whether that clicks with people or not, it's unclear. But in either case, the truth of the matter is that Kojima can work with any company he wants to. He could work with Nintendo on something as well. So there's always that possibility. But at the end of the day, though, it's whatever. If they want to work with a company, though, that's their choice. They're not owned by one company. They're their own company, to be exact, though. And if they want to collaborate with the studio and all, that's their call. So my overall takeaway is this. Regardless of whether this Change.org petition was started by an actual PlayStation fan or whether it was a troll, again, we lean more towards it being a troll, though. I think this Change.org petition is just stupid and ridiculous and really is unnecessary, to be exact, though, okay? Like I said, Kojima Production is not owned by Sony or any studio out there. They can work with whoever they want to work with or collaborate with. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one has to do with an interesting rumor in regards of another Fire Emblem game. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at an interesting report / rumor on the possibility that the next Fire Emblem game, at the very least, could be a remake, though. Now, the Fire Emblem series has certainly been doing very well for Nintendo lately, though, thanks to the success of Fire Emblem Three Houses, though, which has won several awards and all that stuff, and it's become definitely a much more stable franchise than it was in the past, though. In the past, though, it was often referred to a niche title, and no one knew if that series was going to continue. Excuse me, but I believe once Fire Emblem Awakening was released on the Nintendo 3DS, that's when we started to see the series really start to take off and all that stuff, at least from my view though. So now in terms of what Nintendo might be planning for the series going forward though, it seems as though there's a very good chance a remake could be in the work of another entry in the Fire Emblem series. In an article posted by Game Rant, it reads that, quote, according to a reliable leaker of Nintendo information, a new Fire Emblem remake game is in active development for the Switch. The article reads, quote, as is typical for E3 seasons, there were many leaks and rumors leading into the show. Most of these leaks turned out to be fake, but others had some merit to them. Nintendo leaker Zippo, if I'm saying the name correctly though, accurately predicted the reveal of a new Mario Party game as well as a new 2D Metroid game, which would be the long-awaited Metroid Dread. Zippo has since made some more claims about upcoming Nintendo games, and if they are to be believed, a Fire Emblem remake game is in development. According to Nintendo leaker Zippo, a Fire Emblem remake is in the works, though it's unclear exactly which one is being made. There are speculations pointing to the Fire Emblem remake being based on either Geno, Genealogy of the Holy War, or The Blinding Blade, as those are two classic Fire Emblem games that have never gotten English translations. According to Zippo's sources, this Fire Emblem remake is near the end of its development cycle, and so fans shouldn't have to wait much long to get their hands on it. While this rumored Fire Emblem remake could very well be near the end of its development cycle, fans should expect to see it this year. Nintendo used E3 2021 to finalize its holiday 2021 release plan, confirming the release date for Metroid Dread and Mario Party Superstar. It's also launching Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl in November, so one has to imagine this new Fire Emblem game is going to come in 2022 at the earliest though. That's assuming the Fire Emblem game ever exists, of course. While Zippo's leak have proven reliable in the past, it's always best for fans to take this kind of information with a grain of salt though. It's also mentioned in the meantime, Fire Emblem remake game is supposedly not even the only Fire Emblem game that's in development. Previously, Zippo has said that Kojima.to is making a follow-up to Fire Emblem Three Houses, while usual Fire Emblem developer Intelligent System is the one working on the remake game. Zippo has made no mention of the Kojima.to developed Fire Emblem game in their latest blog post, however, so if it's still in the work, one has to think the one won't come until sometime after the Fire Emblem remake game. Now, obviously, this is a rumor, though, so it's clear that a grain of salt should probably be taken with this, though. That said, though, I certainly am not going to rule this one out, though, okay? We've had a Fire Emblem remake before. I believe that was Fire Emblem Echoes on the Nintendo 3DS, though. Putting the controversy aside over the DLC and all that stuff, I believe that was a remake of, I think, a game called Shadows of, it has a V, apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly though, but I believe that one was a remake though, so it certainly wouldn't surprise me if they decide to remake a Fire Emblem game for the Nintendo Switch, so it certainly isn't out of the realm of possibility. Whether this truly happens or not remains to be seen though, but I certainly am not ruling this out at all. As for when it might come out, assuming that this rumor is true though, I could see 2022 being the possibility of them releasing this one, and I could see them possibly releasing the remake first before releasing the follow-up to Three Houses though, assuming that is happening or not though. So either way, time will tell if this rumor turns out to be true. So overall, like I said, it's a rumor, take it with a grain of salt, but I'm leaning towards there's a possibility this one could be true though. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week, and again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about this rumor that Nintendo might be wanting to make a big push with the IP of Donkey Kong? Do you think this is a good idea, though? Do you think some of this could be based off of how well the upcoming Mario movie does in any way? Are you glad Nintendo's pushing Donkey Kong, to be exact? Do you think there are other IPs you think that should get a push, though? Like, say, Kid Icarus, for example, though? What are your thoughts about Nintendo announcing the Switch OLED, though? Are you excited to pick this one up, though? Are you looking forward to this new Nintendo Switch that they announced? Or do you think or are you like me, who figured, you know what, I'll wait until we see like a true next-gen Switch, like, or Switch Pro, Switch.to, or new Nintendo Switch, whatever they're going to call it, though. Were you excited about this announcement? Were you disappointed, though? What are your thoughts about this whole Microsoft, Kojima, and Change.org petition, though? Do you think the Change.org petition has merit, though? Or do you think this is a disgruntled PlayStation fan? Do you think this is a troll? Do you think some people are just taking this whole situation way out of proportion and all that? And what are your thoughts about this rumor about a remake of a Fire Emblem game, though? Do you think this rumor is true? Do you think this rumor is false, though? Do you think that it is possible we could see a remake of a classic Fire Emblem game, though? Do you think there's a good chance we'll see this one first before the rumors about possibly Koei doing a follow-up to Fire Emblem Three Houses? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!